You're coming from South Africa, where you're currently in the US, doing a PhD study on corporate social responsibility and sustainability topics in business-to-business partnering. And I think for us, as we are all partnering with different business partners over the supply chain, it's a very relevant topic. So we are happy to have you here and looking forward to see your presentation.
Well, thank you so much for having me, everybody. I'm really excited and truly honored to be here. Just a little bit, you don't need to hear more about who I am because Mario already told you, but in the daytime, I'm a digital marketer. I run my own agency, and at night, I study sustainability, or CSR, if you like. I'm also a mom who cares deeply about the world. And as Dr. Samantha already said, all of us are hopefully surviving the pandemic, but as a parent especially, we worry about whether we can survive global warming, among other things. I suspect a lot of us, think we will survive the Ukraine thing. That's neither here nor there. We hope we can survive it. But we'd like to hear any one of us who can definitively say that sustainability is not an issue because they're not worried about global warming. So that explains why my passion really has become CSR marketing, essentially helping companies shine for doing what I call the right thing. Well, I am streaming in from Michigan, and as a newbie, I'm just wondering, where is everybody from at the moment? Would everybody just mind chatting, typing in their location in the chat very quickly? I'm just curious. And I can't see you in case you're wondering. So I have no idea what everybody's typing. Maria,
So
you'll let me know what's coming in.
We are here. I'm just looking in the chat window. So we have some people from Germany. As before, I think we have also some participants from India, and so I'm not sure which further answers are coming in. So okay. I can also look in our event inscription. So I think we had different inscriptions from all over the world, also from the US.
Nice.
And all over Europe. So it's a quite international group. So also we have here from Düsseldorf in Germany, from Ahmedabad in India, and so a quite diverse group today.
Wow. Wow, how humbling to have everybody really, as Dr. Samantha also highlighted, the importance of digital connectivity. It's really quite amazing how I, streaming from the United States, am able to talk to everybody from all over, and how we're united by the same mission, which is essentially, obviously, to have good lives, but to make sure that our children also have an earth to grow up in, and our children's children. So sustainability is at the core of my agenda. And I'll talk a little bit about the context. I'll start with what I consider to be the right thing, which is sustainability or corporate social responsibility. We'll contextualize it a little bit. Sustainability implications for the pharmaceutical industry, as this is a pharma conference, and some examples of what some pharmaceutical companies are doing right now in terms of sustainability, and some challenges that pharmaceutical supply chains, at least from the academic point of view, have been identified. You guys can correct me if that's not true in practice, because we know there's always that gap between academia and practice. And chat a little bit about my study and what I call globalization, a combination of local and global, and how that could potentially be the answer. And I understand this is a networking event. I will also present opportunities or places where we might be able to collaborate. All right, so the right thing, corporate social responsibility of pharmaceuticals. I'm sorry, or sustainability, as it's called in the pharmaceutical sector. typically. Many of us will know that the focus for many corporations today has had to shift away from the bottom line to triple bottom line, which incorporates social, environmental, and economic factors. The idea there is value creation, not only for shareholders, but for all stakeholders. And why does that matter? Well, as I said, we can survive the pandemic, but will we survive global warming, among other things, right? That's why I think, regardless of whether we think CSR or sustainability is a useful concept from a strategy point of view, regardless of whether it brings the bottom line or not, on a personal level, I think we probably care, or we ought to care. And we also have very active civil society movements today. It's hard as a business leader to just shut your eyes and pretend like you don't hear them, because we have customers. The people who buy from us are also demanding ethically produced products. And in the digital era, everything travels so fast, you really don't want to be caught behind a scandal. Now, in our era, sustainability really means moving beyond just legal compliance, right? We have all these other stakeholders that we're worried about. We have employees, we have stockholders, we have manufacturers and suppliers of raw materials, distributors, dispensers. They can be retail pharmacies or non-retail dispensers and consumers. The list goes on. You guys know how complex the supply chain in the pharmaceutical industry is. Now, as I said, a scandal, you don't want to be caught behind a scandal because all those partners along the supply chain really are lined up like dominoes. One tips, all of them falls, right? I can't see your faces, so I don't know if you agree or not. If you don't agree, agree or disagree, feel free to keep chatting in, and Mario will fill me in as we go or at the end. And some of what folks are currently doing in terms of sustainability initiatives, there are initiatives around environmental footprint reduction. There's a whole lot of greenhouse gas policies out there that pharmaceutical companies have signed up for, are signed up to. We've got issues around employee safety, safe handling of unused medicines, supplier management, material reduction, sustainability workforce, employee or community involvement, access to medicine. These are probably not very new to any and all of us if you know anything at all about corporate social responsibility and sustainability. And now why that's specifically important in the context of pharmaceuticals is this sector, in so much as it can or has withstood the test of COVID, it's very vulnerable. It's really vulnerable to criticism. It's very vulnerable to attack, in part because now this is an industry that deals directly with human health and human lives. And as I already said, with that domino effect, we have so many stakeholders involved in the pharmaceutical supply chain. And all of them are, globally distributed, usually, can be very disconnected and fragmented. There can be lack of diversity in suppliers. And accountability can be very hard to pin down. So if a product is not satisfactory or such, it can be quite difficult to pin down where the production went awry. And where there are sudden and unexpected changes in demand, it might be a little bit difficult to respond. The list goes on and on and on, right? Now, out of curiosity, what are your challenges with sustainability from the perspective of where you work? And if you're at all familiar with corporate social responsibility, what would you say are some of the challenges that you're having to face in your workplace? I'll just take a minute and I'll have Mario read them out to me as they come
Hello,
in.
Khutso. I'm here again to read out the answers which are coming from the chat. Also, just from the previous question, there are also people from the Netherlands, from other parts in Germany, from other parts in India. So this is basically a diverse group. So I think whilst we're waiting for the answers, I think a big challenge to sustainability is always the price pressure. Especially in the pharmaceutical sector, most of us face that there is a lot of public tenders, so to the public sick funds, to the public hospitals, and they do not apply sustainability as a criteria in their tenders. So basically, they are just looking for the cheapest offer. And this puts a lot of pressure, and you cannot price, let's say, sustainability initiatives in. So I think price is always a very important topic on sustainability.
Oh, very good. See, I'm learning a lot from you guys. Thank you, Mario. Prize. Yep. Anything else coming in, or
just
should
checking here. So
Okay.
Did not receive something else yet. However, so I think in my opinion, in my experience in the pharmaceutical industry, we got another question. There's sustainable energy is more expensive. So I think, as I mentioned, the tenders do not reward, let's say, sustainability in the supply chain. So I think a lot is around pricing, which is putting a hard time to sustainability. So I believe this is, from my experience, at least in the pharmaceutical sector, is, let's say, the point which is bringing most difficulties to implement sustainability.
Right. No, thanks for that, Mario. I've also picked up from wider literature, and this does not only apply to the pharmaceutical sector. Any sector that involves multinationals will find these to apply. Where supply chains are globalized, there are just way too many stakeholders, right, that you have to factor in as you try to derive your sustainability measures. And these stakeholders operate within very different cultural and institutional and socioeconomic conditions because they tend to be based in different countries, right? And some of their views and needs can conflict. And it becomes problematic when you're interested in setting your sustainability bar at a certain level, and you find some of the partners have only limited capabilities, or they have capabilities and commitment levels that just don't match what you have. So that tends to be a problem. And overall, just the notion of integrating ethics into business strategy can be a challenge. You guys can correct me wrong. Like I said, where this topic is concerned, I'm very much an academic. So I appreciate any challenges that you guys have on the topic. Do these seem like they resonate, Mario, along with price? Or anybody?
I think from what I see here, these are very important points. So I think all of us, pharmaceutical supply chains are quite international, especially I think in the generic industry, a lot of supply of active ingredients is manufactured in China. The manufacturing of finished products is done in India, which are then shipped to Europe. So I think the cultural points that you lie out here is quite important. Of course, the socioeconomic conditions. I think the conflicting needs of suppliers and stakeholders, we all learned that around the supply chain. Of course, whilst the companies always look at just-in-time deliveries to not have a big storage, but then at the same time they complain about delays in shipments, because in the end the shipments of course sometimes can get impacted, but at the same time they're also not looking to build a big stock keeping. So I think this is what you mentioned here is quite important. And the ethics, I think, in business strategy are quite important, as you lined out, as we mentioned. Of course, there's also a difference in living conditions, and of course, it always has to be also looked at from the other side. That also not just price is the only criteria to look at, but also the ethics and business ethics, and as you line out in your presentation, the sustainability topic.
Yeah, well, no, I do appreciate that. I really had hoped for this to be a very interactive presentation, as you can tell. And so I do appreciate your chiming in. And truly, I would hope everybody else feels comfortable to chime in. So moving right along, they clearly, in the context of supply chains being so international, there is that need then to balance that which is global, which typically, if you think about headquarters and subsidiaries and supply chains, the global strategies would be conceptualized more at the headquarter level, because as a multinational, you'd be looking to create some level of integration, consistency, right? Whereas now, at the supply chain level or at the subsidiary level, you're having to differentiate in response to those different cultural, socioeconomic, and other needs, right? So there is this tug of war between what's local and what's global. And this is what I'm hoping to address through my PhD study. Is this something that you guys know how? Is this something that's very easy to do? Balancing the local and the global generally? Yes, no? That's all I need to hear. Yes, no? Anyone type yes, no?
I'm just as before. I'm checking on the answers here. So I believe the answer, a prevailing answer, shall be yes, because of course it's always challenging more to have this international aspect. So I think, yeah, yes.
Yeah, it's quite easy to balance the global and the local. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what we're getting? Okay. Okay. Well, from an academic point of view, we're not sure how that happens. And this is where I'm hoping to build a bridge between academia and practice. So I'd be looking at exploring CSR strategies of B2B multinationals and their global subsidiaries, not so much supply chains, but subsidiaries. And so in terms of collaboration, I have approached a few companies for me to interview them to really explore that balance between local and global from a strategic point of view where CSR is concerned. And if you or your company would like to be part of my study, I would very much welcome it. And you're wondering, well, Khutso, why would I want to do that? Well, it might give you some ideas about how you might improve, sustainability coordination across from your entire value chain and subsidiaries, all the way from your headquarters to your subsidiaries and supply chain. Oh, time has gone quite fast. And another area of collaboration and help I was hoping for, if you are a company that is already practicing sustainability on some level, but you need help using that to, as a business development tool, that's what I do during the day. So feel free to reach out to me for that as well. That's about it. I really did not have a whole lot of content, as I said. My area really is just CSR. I try to plump it within the context of pharmaceuticals. Yeah, I'm open to any questions or discussion, feedback that anybody might have.
Thank you, Khutso, for the presentation and for lining out, I think, the topics which are relevant to all of us. I think, especially now, these sustainability topics do matter a lot. I think there has been a lot of change also in supply chain, in demand, and how to manage such international complexity, which wasn't easy now during the COVID times, and it is not also easy for this big conflict between Ukraine and Russia that we have, which is also impacting a lot in the world. So how do you see the relationship between local sourcing and sustainability, or international sourcing and sustainability? I would be curious about your opinion there.
Oh my, that's really, really a complex one, Mario. I would like to believe it very much will depend on the context. I think Dr. Samantha did point out there are issues with geopolitics. It matters where you're sitting in the global political economy. So but we know that a lot of suppliers tend to be in low-income countries, unless you're China. But yeah, in terms of you asked in the context of Ukraine, the Ukrainian war, how do I see all of this panning out?
Not particularly on the Ukrainian one, but I think as far as I see, there's some kind of tendency of bringing supply chains back to a more local context and avoiding, let's say, big international dependencies. And I think, of course, as we have less transport, I'm not sure if this also has an impact in the sustainability of supply chain. So it's more about what you see, what is more, let's say, sustainable, and which can be more interesting to look at in the future, like more local sourcing or more international sourcing.
Okay. Well, we know everything is going digital, so we would hope. We know that's going to obviate a lot of the human issues that we have around globalization. But one would hope that where humans are concerned, very specific attention be paid towards localization, because we do at the end of the day want solutions that work locally, right? Hence they call it globalization. Yes, there is a global part, but the local part is also very important. So I would say, given that we see the trend definitely going digital, and that's going to squeeze the human margin in terms of labor force. Not good if you're a labor dependent economy necessarily, but in the context of where you have to be merging global and local, I personally would always say, people's livelihoods are important, and you want to be working in ways that are in line with local needs. So that would be my quick answer to that, Mario, because it depends really on the context where you sit.
Thank you very much, Khutso, for this answer, your nice presentation. So very much appreciated to have you here. So I've seen there some people have responded to your presentation also via the chat. So after your presentation, I think you can also have a look there, connect to these people for having some exchange. And in general, of course, we're also looking forward to see all of you later in the networking session. So thanks again for being here today. And yes, all of you are invited to get in contact with Khutso on this interesting topic. And of course, perhaps there might be synergy also with her doctorate study. So for sure, she is happy to, if you reach out to her, to discuss on this topic.
All right. Thank you very much, Mario. And thank you, everybody, for having me.